So great system. Again, we use it all the time, and I think it's becoming more and more popular. The only downside I can think of is the cost. I guess to give you a example between.
Hello and welcome back to the #1 home building podcast in Australia. This week, our topic is everything pool related. So we're going to tell you and everything you need to know about pools and ensure that your pool building experience goes as smooth as possible. But as usual, let's kick us off. Introduce who these people are that are going to tell you all about this today.
So Chris Baptista, director of Homes by CMA. We've built over 1,000 homes and we also do pools.
That's it. Good little add-on.
I thought I'd mention that. Yeah.
That's it. And for me, we're still deciding whether I'm the brand or marketing manager, but one of those two. But let's get straight into it. So did you just want to give us a bit of an overview of what we're going to be doing today?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I thought we'd mention, and I didn't know that before I had a quick look at it, and Australia has the highest number of pool ownership per capita.
Really?
So Australia has over 1.2 million pools.
Shit,
I saw that number, I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of pools in Australia. So, and apparently there's over 30,000 pools that are getting built every single year.
Wow.
So
big increase. Big cool.
It's a lot of pools, and which is why I think it was important to do a pool podcast.
That's it.
We obviously do a lot of pools and we build them as part of the houses we build, but this podcast is not necessarily for those that are building and want a pool as part of the build, but also people that just want to build a swimming pool and just want to know a little bit about it.
That's it. We also get a lot of questions on our social media about can we build pools? And
that's it. How does it work? Yeah. How far does it have to sit from the house? What's the best type of pool? And all those things, I guess. So that's what we're going to cover today.
Love it. Well, let's just jump straight into it. So obviously there is a few types of different pools you can have. Did you just want to run us through them and the key points of differences?
So the main three types of pools that I would say are the most common ones would be the fiberglass pools. So obviously this is a prefabricated pool. You dig a hole and you just crane the pool inside.
Yep.
It's very popular and we don't do it, but we get a lot of clients that do that. The truth is I don't know a lot about it. So I'm not going to I presume like I know a lot about it. I've seen it. It's personally not my preference just because of the flexibility that a concrete pool has. It doesn't match because concrete and flexibility, but I mean, in terms of design, you can just do so much with a concrete pool that you can't do with a fiberglass pool. Now, I'm not saying a fiberglass pool is bad and it's got its uses, but I don't know a lot about it. So that's the first type. Second type is concrete pools, which is what mostly we're going to talk about today. And obviously a lot of the things we're going to talk about today with concrete pools applies to the fiberglass pools and all the other type of pools because the equipment is the same and all those things are the same. So concrete pools, what we're going to cover today. I don't know what the percentage is in terms of which one is more popular. I would assume that a concrete pool is more popular, but I'm not sure. And the last one that has been growing over the past few years.
Yeah, they're getting real popular now.
That's it, is the plungy pool. So the plungy pool is also a concrete pool, but it's precast. So as opposed to a concrete pool where we dig a hole, we formwork and we spray it on site, a plungy pool is a precast pool that comes pre-made from a factory. So, you might have, for example, a 3-story house in Brisbane and want to put a pool on top of the house. A plungy pool is probably going to work out really good because they can just crane the pool on top of the house.
For sure. It's actually really cool watching it get done. They literally crane a pool into your backyard or on your roof or whatever it is. It's so cool.
We've never personally used them. Some of our clients have, and I can remember that last job we did, which had a round plungy pool that looked really cool.
Yeah, very great.
They look pretty cool. Again, we've never done personally one, so I can't say. But from a builder's point of view, they seem to have a really good product. They seem to have a really good niche market, and I think in some cases, and again,
I was about to say benefits of that.
Well, I think it's also in terms of space and in terms of pool size and in terms of how quick do you want your pool.
Yeah.
And so, plungy pool is good because you might again, you might be building a 3-story house and you want to pull on top, and they can just crane on top.
Yeah.
Or you might have really small access, and
that's what
you
I was
don't
gonna say.
necessarily want a big pool, and you don't necessarily want a fiberglass pool, so why not crane in a plungy pool?
Exactly.
So
if you have poor side access, it's probably the way to go. Hey,
that's exactly right. So there's a few things, and I haven't told you yet, but we might have a job with a plungy pool.
There you go.
News on YouTube, but we might have a job with a plungy pool where it's going to be on the 2nd story.
Hey, nice.
Some news. So yeah, that's roughly the 3 types of pools.
Cool.
And really, I don't really know any. I mean, there's obviously the small plastic pools, and but we're not even going to go there because there's no point.
Yeah.
If you are looking at an inflatable pool, this is probably not the podcast for you.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But remember to wear your floaties at all times.
That's it. Always.
That's it. Pool safety, right? So obviously, it can get quite complex when you build a pool. Obviously, one of the most complex things probably to understand is like the pool engineering side of things. Did you want to touch on a few of the engineering factors that are?
Yeah. So this is going to be very brief. I don't want to bore people with all the engineering side of the pools and how it works and blah blah blah. But long story short, and again, we're going to be talking about a concrete pool here. What happens is we pretty much do a hole in the ground, and the hole is a little bit bigger than the pool you're going to have. And the reason for that is you might have, for example, a 6 by 3 meter pool, but you have to take into consideration the size of the wall thickness of your pool.
Yeah.
So the wall thickness of your pool ranges from 150 mil to 200 mil.
Yeah.
And this is something that obviously is dependent on the grounds and the engineer you use. So that's roughly... So a lot of people, they see a pool from the top and they see the 400 mil concrete and they assume that's the whole pool. It's not. We go from, say, 150 to 200, and then we go the 400 mil step just to have the pool coping on top.
Yeah.
The actual pool is around 150 to 200 mil.
Yeah.
So that's the pool itself. And then what happens, so we dig a hole. We usually put rocks at the bottom of the pool, a layer of around 100 mil of stones at the bottom. Then we form it up. So usually most of the pools are going to be in ground. So the form up guys will just put a stud around just to get the exact size of the pool. And then there's a steel specialist, a steel fixing specialist that will put all the steel inside the pool. And it's quite impressive how they do it. So again, most people don't know, but they think, it's a 12 mil bar, and how do the guys bend it?
Yeah.
The pool steel is a bit different. It's a special steel that is actually bendable. So you could actually grab that 12 mil bar, and you're going to think, oh, shit, that guy's really strong. Because you can bend the bar like that, but it's not actually like that.
Yeah.
And it's just steel that is made for pools.
Yeah. It'd be a good party trick.
Yeah. So it's usually 12 mil steel. The guys would put all the bars inside of the pool. The spacing of the bars will depend on the pool strength and the side conditions and all that. But 12 mil bars all around the pool. And then pretty much what we do is, and that's really fun to watch for those that are building a pool, I would recommend have a look at when they spray the concrete.
Yeah.
Sounds really strange, but spraying concrete. So it's basically concrete that comes from a normal concrete truck. The strength of a pool is usually stronger than the strength of the concrete for a house.
Yeah.
So a pool will usually be anywhere between 25 MPa to 32 MPa, and that's the strength of the concrete. So what happens is then you get what's called a shotcrete company, and they pretty much spray the concrete onto the walls. And it's really cool because it's so strong that it actually sticks everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they pretty much just shape it. And the guys that do this usually do this every day, and they're really, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
So they spray that onto the wall and they shape it. They shape the step, they shape the roundness at the bottom, and
It's quite...
very impressive.
Yeah,
If you have the chance to have a look at when they shotcrete your pool, it's worth a look because it's super impressive.
That's it.
So that's the shotcrete part.
Perfect. So we've covered a lot there. One of the other things that you have to do is also remain compliant. So did you want to run us through some of the requirements you need?
Yes. So in terms of whether I guess you're building a pool while you build your house, or whether you are living in your house, you will, as soon as you have a hole in the ground, you really need to have pool fencing. It's not a permanent pool fence, but it's a temporary pool fence. So this is critical. And when you are getting either a builder or a pool builder to build your pool, make sure the temporary pool fencing is included as part of the quote because you will need it.
Yes.
You don't want them to come back at you and say, oh, it wasn't part of the quote. It's another $1,200 to have pool fencing.
Yeah.
So pool fencing is a must. And again, if you are building your pool, for example, while you build your house and you start a pool before you start a house, and the pool is usually, say, within 3 meters of the house, you will need a pool cover.
Yes.
So what happens is you got to think of it where you have your pool that's getting dug. The pool shell might be done, and then you have the house getting built. And for example, a roofer could fall into the pool if it doesn't have a pool cover. So always, watch out if you're going to build your pool before the house starts and then you get your house started. Always ask either the builder or the pool builder to quote also a pool cover. They will usually tell you anyway that it's going to be required, but if they don't, always watch it out because you will need it.
For sure. And would you say there's like sort of a standard that you would want to try and keep the pool distant from the house?
Yeah. So I guess if you want to be super safe, 3 meters is going to be the way to go. But in general terms, 2 meters are going to be enough.
And why?
Well, I guess it depends on what's called the zone of influence. So this will be dependent on the soil test. The worse your soil test is, the more the zone of influence is, so the further the pool has to be so that it doesn't impact the house slab. Same principle if you have obviously an existing home and you want to build a pool. You really want to make sure that you provide the pool builder with a soil test and that they keep obviously... the engineer would have a look at that anyway, but you just want to make sure. And when we build a new house, it's a little bit easier because what we can do is we can adjust the slab and the piering based on the pool. So a lot of houses we build and the pool is right against the house. So what we would do is we would have concrete piers along the edge of the slab so that no matter what the pool is, it doesn't impact on the structural integrity of the house.
That's it. There's no pressure getting
That's
put
it.
on.
So usually, for example, if your pool is say 1.8 meter deep, the house would be piered to maybe say 2.2 meter deep. So you have to go, normally you have to go 300 mil below where you dug the pool. It's just so that again, when you dig that hole, the house is there and there's no impact on the structural integrity of the slab.
Awesome. I think that was really well said. So before we move on to price, let's talk about some of the things that are often required when you build a pool. So a lot of those additionals that some people may not realize or forget about, or it might not even be included in the price.
Definitely. So the first thing you really want, and that's going to make your pool really look great, is a light.
For sure.
So again, I would assume that most pool builders would include at least one LED light, and you definitely want an LED light. It's much better. It's going to last much longer. So the light, I think, is a must. It's something that when you turn it on at night, it makes your pool look so good.
Just the water lighting up like that.
That's exactly right. And in terms of location, again, a pool builder should be able to advise, but you always want to have the pool light shining not in your face and on the opposite side. So if you have the pool here, you don't want to to be looking at that light. You want to be looking at the pool or looking nice, but not looking at that light.
For sure.
So the LED pool light, and I guess if you got a standard pool, I would say one light will be enough. If you got a really big pool, maybe add another light. They are about $550 each. Yes, they're not cheap, but you got to think about it. That pool light is in your pool. You don't want to have to go back and fix it.
Right.
So it's well worth spending the $550 to get a really good pool light so that you don't have to go back and fix it.
Cool. So you've got the light in your pool. Obviously, there's loads of different designs you can get for your pool. So ones with steps and all these things. Did you just want to quickly touch on that?
That's it. So again, you don't want to build, for example, a 6x3 meter pool. That's just a rectangular in the ground with nothing else. Usually, most pool builders would add a few steps. So obviously, you can get easily in your pool from ground level to obviously the pool. So the steps are usually a must and would normally be included as part of most pools. On top of that, it's usually quite good to also have benches because, again, you might have a beer and you get into your pool. You want to sit down on the side of the pool. And so a bench is really good. Most benches would be a little bit extra, but we're not talking much there. We're talking a few hundred. But a bench is really good. It just allows you to sit. For kids, it's quite good because the kids can start playing in there before they get into the pool. Bench is something I would definitely recommend in a pool.
Awesome. So did you want to touch on a couple of like the copings and things like that? All that?
Yeah. So when you build a pool, you obviously think of it, you've got your shell and then you have to put something on top, obviously, so that it looks good. So that's called a pool coping. A pool coping is going to be different than a tile. So usually there's specific places where you buy the pool coping. In here, I guess in Queensland, the pool tile company is usually the place to go to get a really good pool coping, and they've got a wide selection of it.
That's it.
A pool coping, again, will usually range from 20 mil to 30 mil, and there's heaps of options. Whether you have a square front, where you could have a bullnose front. You've got so many options that, again, it's worth having a look there and to see what you like. You might have granite, you might have travertine, you might have porcelain. There's a lot of choice. So you want to make sure you get your pool coping right. And you also want to make sure that, obviously, whatever you do on the surrounding of your pool, you either want to match it or you want to make sure at least the heights are going to work. And
that was my next thing, like the internal and then now the external tiles that go around.
That's it. So you have to be really careful. Some people don't realize that, obviously, they have their pool coping and they leave the surrounding concrete, for example, at the same height as what the pool shell was. And then they install a normal tile and they realize, shit, there's a lip there.
Yeah.
And because what happens is when we do a concrete shell, the concrete shell is never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So the top, usually what happens is when we put a pool coping on top, we would put a screed on top. So just a thin layer of usually around 10 to 20 mil of concrete, just to level that perfectly. Yeah. Again, it's a pool, and if things are out of level, it's going to look pretty strange. So you level that perfectly, and then you install your pool coping. So from your concrete shell, you're really looking at, say, 20 mil for your screed, and maybe another, say, 25 by the time you got the pool coping and the glue. So you're looking at, say, 45, 50 mil from your pool shell. So if you pour your concrete at the same height of your pool shell and you put your tiles on top, you're going to have a 40 mil lip.
Big lip. Yeah.
So always think about it. And for those people that have a separate pool builder than your house builder, you have to make sure that they get in touch and they get the heights right. That is probably, if you have to grab one of the things from that podcast, is this.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you get your heights right. If your pool is 3 meters away from the house, no big deal. But even say that we've done a house and they've went through a pool builder, and from the back of the alfresco to where the pool is, the pool sits about 200 mil higher than the house, and I'm like, why? It just looks funny. Always make sure they consult together, particularly if the pool is built before the house. If you get your pool first and then you get your house slab, it's critical. Again, I can't say this enough. It's critical that the pool builder and the house builder talk to each other and get the heights right. Because once the pool is in, it's just much harder to adjust the house slab, I guess. Because if you go higher, you're going to spend either a lot more concrete or you're going to have to pier the house. And if you go lower, you're going to have to dig. So you don't want that. So all it takes is a bit of communication between the two just to get those heights right. Awesome. So this is in terms of heights, and then obviously the inside of the pool is also finished with a pebble-crete finish. There's a lot of options with this. The standard one is obviously that light blue color. I guess light blue, light green sort of color. Basically, it's a cement and a pebble finish they put inside of the pool. They apply it, and again, it's quite cool to watch for those that haven't seen it. Go and have a look when they do it. They apply it, and then they wash it, and it's pretty much done, and then you can put your water right away inside.
That's it.
So there's a lot of options with that in terms of, if you want to go really dark in terms of pool color, they can adjust all this. So again, if you are very specific in terms of what the color of the pool is, tell your pool builder about this, and usually have photos to show them so that they can adjust the pebble crate to suit that. Keeping in mind that the darker the color of the pool, the more it will cost. Because the concrete will most likely have to be colored, and then you can also upgrade to lots of things like glass sort of pebble. There's lots and lots of upgrade depending on how much you want to spend. But keeping in mind that the darker the color you want to go, the more it will cost.
Awesome. So we briefly touched on like the surroundings of a pool and everything. So did you just want to talk a little bit about pool fencing? The legalities behind it and things?
Yeah, definitely. So again, this is something that most people don't do, and you should really pay a lot of attention to this. It's not just a matter of I want a 6x3 meter pool at the back and I want it here.
Yeah.
Always have a think about the pool fencing and where you want it.
Yeah.
Because usually when I say that to clients, they reconsider the position of the pool, or they reconsider how far from the house it is, or where they might want the pool, or the size of the pool. And particularly important if you have the alfresco, you just want to make sure everything's going to look good.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to necessarily have to have 20 meters of pool fence where it's going to cost a lot of money. So that's the first thing to consider. Where you want to pool, but always think about the pool fence. Don't just think about the pool.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 types of pool fencing. Usually have the aluminium powder coat pool fencing, which is I guess the cheap. The standard, the standard black or white pool fence you see. Nothing wrong there with it. It's all pool compliant. It's the most cost efficient fence you can get. And there's nothing wrong with it. At least it's easier to clean.
That's it.
And this usually costs around $150 per meter.
Yeah.
So usually when we talk about pool, things are priced per meters, except from maybe the tiles on the surrounding of the pools and all that sort of thing is priced per meter.
Yep.
So $150 approximately per meter will get you the pool fence. Then you can upgrade to semi-frameless glass, which is basically a glass panel with 2 posts on the side.
Yeah.
So this is what semi-frameless pool fencing is. And you can have multiple sort of options in terms of the semi-frameless posts.
Yeah.
You could go chrome, you could go gray, you can go white. There's lots and lots of options.
Yeah.
This is around $350 a meter of pool fence. So again, you can see that there's a price increase already because we're talking glass.
Yeah.
And then the most expensive pool fencing is obviously the frameless pool glass. So basically a frameless glass panel, which has 2 spigots at the bottom.
Yeah.
You can pick if you want chrome, you can pick if you want black. There's heaps of colors available.
It looks amazing, but man, it sucks to clean.
It looks amazing, but it does suck to clean. And I have it at home and it's painful.
Yeah,
it's painful. So the frameless glass pool fence, usually around $450 a meter. So obviously, the price again goes up.
Yeah.
And so always, have a quick look at your pool fence, have a quick look at where your pool sits, and do a really quick takeoff of how much pool fence is. Some people do a mix.
Yeah.
Like the Dismount Newport we have. We got a little bit of a mix of frameless pool fence with black spigots and black sort of aluminium pool fencing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad. It looks really good, and you can save a little bit of some money there. So
for sure.
And always have a think about the fittings too. So, some people don't really think, but they might think, chrome, let's go with it. But the black fittings look really cool. So
they do look really
I would say have a look at that because they look really, really cool. And you don't need to polish them like the chrome.
That's it. Yeah. An extra perk.
That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. So I feel like people have got a really good understanding about the pool itself now. But also what really is important that makes up a pool is the equipment and the filtration system that you need to then now power that pool. Did you want to dive into a bit of that? And types?
Before I get into that, I actually forgot to talk about the gates too. It's quite important. No, I did forget to talk about this and got focused on the fence there for a little bit. But obviously you have a pool, you need to have gates to get inside the pool area.
Yeah.
The pool fencing regulations are very, very strict. And once the pool is finished, there is a certifier that comes and does a inspection. And they are super strict on the pool. So,
which is good.
Yeah, so always you can't technically fill the water in your pool until you have the pool fence all approved.
Yeah.
So make sure that you don't fill your pool until you got all that sorted. But going back to the pool gates, you could have a few. Most of the pools we do have at least 1 gate, but you could have 2. The gates are a little bit more expensive than the pool fence, obviously, because there's hinges and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Unbelievable.
So the pool gates are usually... The pool gates are usually a little bit more expensive than the pool fence because obviously of the hinges and all that.
Yeah.
And what happens is so if you have the inside of your pool area, the pool gate has to open outside. Yeah. So this is critical too. And again, something you really need to think of when you design your pool and your pool fence location.
Yeah. Perfect.
Now, what was the next step we were talking about?
So we're touching, we got distracted. We're touching on the importance of the equipment and the filtration system.
Yes. So, it's obviously equipment. Obviously, also depending, for example, if you have skin conditions or if your kid have kids have a skin conditions.
Yeah.
The mainstream equipments nowadays, I guess there's 3, but the chlorine one, not very used anymore, a little bit outdated. So I'm not even going to talk about this because nobody wants it, because everybody knows you get into a chlorine pool. You smell like chlorine. It smells like chlorine. Girls that have bleached hair are gonna get another coat of bleach on their hair, and it just doesn't work. So I would avoid the chlorine. That's the first thing. So then we go on to the saltwater filtration. This is what most pool builders would have as a standard, a saltwater filtration. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with it. It works really well. That's what I've got at home. You can hardly test any salt. Like it's just fine. You know, for me, it's fine. Yes, when you get out of the pool, technically, you should have a shower because, you know, your skin might get sort of irritated with the salt, but it's not that bad. So salt water filtration is something that, most people would use as a standard, and in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with it. However, you can upgrade to what's called MagnaPool.
It's very cool.
There's different types of brand, but MagnaPool would probably be the main one, and that's a mineral filtration system, so a magnesium filtration. So
it's very cool.
That's it. So you don't have any salt, and you pretty much have minerals. So as you can imagine, there's no issue when you get in the pool in terms of irritation of the skin or anything like that. They also, again, I don't know, I haven't got one, but apparently there's relaxing benefits, obviously, from the magnesium.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but apparently. So so great system. Again, we use it all the time, and I think it's becoming more and more popular. The only downside I can think of is the cost. I guess to give you a example between the saltwater filtration and say if we compare it to a MagnaPool, you might be talking maybe $1,900, $2,000 to upgrade to the MagnaPool. Not just in terms of equipment, but in terms of the setting up of the pool. So when a pool is finished, I guess we have to set it up. So whether if it's a saltwater, we put salt, whether it's a mineral pool and we put mineral, the magnesium pool will be more to set up. But I recommend it. And if you can spend a little bit extra, why not go for it?
Awesome. Is there any other necessary equipment that we might need?
Well, then I guess you get into the finer details with things like the filtration system. So you get cartridge and you get a sand filter. We can go really deep in that. We might not go too deep in that. Maybe not, because it's a bit boring, the filtration and the equipment. But long story short, the sand filter is that really big round filter. So obviously some people might have very limited space, and the cartridge filter, which is about that big, is a better option. Some people might be really worried about the water efficiency, and a cartridge filter is again going to be better because of the backwash of the sand filter. And the other problem with the sand filter is when you backwash it, it ideally needs to go the ORG, which is a sewer connection. So when you add a pool to an existing house, you might not be able to hook onto the sewer. So it could be a little bit of an issue. But depending on the size of the pool, how much space you have, how much maintenance you want to be doing, there's pros and cons with both systems. So
awesome.
So the next thing is the pool pumps, and there's a lot of options in terms of pool pumps. There's lots of brands. Usually, obviously, the best, because a pool pump is going to run that much, a efficient pool pumps is usually the way to go. They will be a little bit more expensive to buy, but they will be less expensive to run. So usually, a efficient pool pump is going to be the way to go.
Awesome. So there's loads of other cool upgrades you can sort of get into your pool these days. Things like, heated pools, spas, all that sort of stuff. Did you want to just quickly run over those?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, from the fountains to the slides to the all that sort of stuff.
You're really only limited by your imagination.
That's exactly right.
Honestly.
But
and your budget.
That's it, yeah. The spa is obviously a great thing to have in a pool. It will definitely cost a bit more, and there's multiple options as to how you can set it up, whether the spa is a little bit higher, has a bit of an infinity edge into the pool. There's lots of options. So the spa is really cool, but yes, it can get pricey. My personal pick is the heating system. And why I said
I knew you was going to bring this up.
Even though it's Australia, I think it still gets cold. And when you put that foot in the water, it's just freezing.
A little icy sometimes.
That's it. It's a little icy. So again, it's personal preference, but I think like a heating system for a pool means that you can swim, instead of swimming, say 4 months of the year, you might be able to extend it by another 3 months.
That's it. Yeah.
So heating systems, there's a lot, and there's a lot more efficient systems nowadays. The systems have improved a lot.
Yeah.
So depending on the size of the pool, because each system will depend on the size of the pool and how much you want to swim. Some people might want to swim the whole year, and then you need a really big system.
Yeah.
But if we're talking normal system, you might be looking at, say, close to $5,000 to upgrade to a heating system. But well worth the investment.
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, they're a lot more efficient, so they're not going to cost as much to run, even though they are an upfront cost. That may
Definitely.
Be more. Yeah.
And if you are having a heating system, and even if you're not having a heating system, a really good thing to have is a pool cover.
Yeah.
There's a few benefits about the pool cover. Obviously, if you have a heating system and you have a pool cover, the pool will heat much, much easier, and it won't let the heat evaporate. I guess. So that's a really, really good benefit, and definitely a must if you have a heating system. But even if you don't have a heating system, we see that a lot. People, it's summer, and they're like, my pool must have a leak.
Yeah.
It's dropped 10 centimeters in the past week. And unfortunately, that's what pools do.
Yeah.
You might get a wind area and you might get good sun on the pool, and you will watch that water just blow away and just evaporate in the air. So I would say a cover at least will mean that it will stop that, or it will minimize it. And which means that, yes, you might have to buy the cover, but you will have to spend less on refilling the pool every time it goes up. And prime example, I don't have a pool cover.
Yeah.
And in prime summer, like every week you have to refill that pool by about 100 ml.
Wow.
It's that bad, yeah.
Other good things is it will stop your pool from getting dirty as well.
Yeah, if you got trees around, that's it. Yeah,
if you got animals, it will stop all the animals and stuff. Birds sometimes like to come down.
I thought you were going to say dogs and stuff.
No.
Does your dog swim?
I wasn't thinking that quite that train, but anyway.
Yeah, so it will stop animals.
Long story short.
Hey, that's it.
Cool. So before we head off on this podcast, is there anything you think people need to know before we go?
The final thing, I guess, that we haven't mentioned is when we talk about a pebble crate inside of your pool, a very common upgrade is the water line. So the water line is those really small tiles that you see going all around the pool. Some people tile the whole pool, and that's fine too. But again, you're going to be talking really big money. So if you want to be on a budget but have a really cool looking pool and not have to spend too much, a water line is usually the way to go. Yeah. So it's pretty much a mosaic tile that just goes all around the pool. And the reason behind it is it looks good, obviously. That's the first thing, and that's why most people would do it. Yeah. But the second reason is it keeps the pebble crate finish below the water surface, so that I guess it doesn't stain and doesn't get dirty, and it just makes your pool looks much, much, much better. So usually that waterline tile, which again, this is going to be a very quick estimate, but maybe around $2,000, $2,500 for your pool. Because it's quite a lot of work. Some people think, I can buy the tiles of Bunnings for $300. Yes, but usually you have to render that section so that it's nice and flat. You have to lay the tiles, which is quite a very delicate type of job. And then you have to put epoxy grading. So you can't, you can, but you don't want to put normal grout. You want to put epoxy grout, which is a grout that will not get water get inside. That's exactly right. So epoxy grout, and it looks really, really good. And once you've installed that, then you do your pebble crate finish.
Yeah. The other thing, I know it's obviously pretty expensive, but I really like when they do like the mosaic tiles on the bottom of the pool with often like a logo or a saying or the name of the house.
It does. Yeah, definitely. We got one coming like that.
That's it.
And particularly if you got a spa too. If you got a spa, you could tile your seats. Again, when you have a bench, you can put a nice row of tiles on the edge of the seat so that it looks good. So there's a few things you can do with those. Not just a water line. You can do so many things. And some people do the whole pool and it looks fantastic. But it's just
costs you an arm and a leg.
It's just very, very expensive. Yeah, very expensive.
Awesome.
The final thing we haven't talked about,
there's more,
is the pricing.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
the pricing.
We almost left without that.
And again, that's something people ask us a lot. How much does a pool cost?
That's it.
And the quick answer, I guess, it will depend on how big the pool is. And so when you see either a home builder that does a pool or a pool builder, we will normally price the pool based on linear meters of the pool. Yeah. So your pool is 6 meters by 3 meters. You just go 6 plus 6 plus 3 plus 3. And that will give you the surround of your pool. So again, this is a rough estimate. And the smaller the pool, the more it will cost per meter. And the bigger the pool, the less it will cost per meter.
Similar to a house, really.
Similar to a house, because when you think about it, the equipment will still be there. Most of the rates will still apply. So yeah, that's why I guess. But yeah, the rate I've roughly worked out as an average is probably $1,700 a meter.
Okay.
If you use that as an average for your pool, it would work about right. And then, there's so many variables, whether your pool is fully in ground, whether like we were talking about, your pool is half in, half above ground.
Yeah.
Some people think, oh, there's less dirt, so I'm going to save money.
Yeah, not the case.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And the more above ground the pool is, probably the more it will cost because of the formwork to actually shotcut the concrete. 100%. And also because of the piering that the pool will need, so that obviously it doesn't move around. So so there's a lot of factors, but usually $1,700 a meter would give you a rough idea.
And what does that include, and what doesn't it?
So that pretty much gives you a full turnkey pool with the exclusion of the permanent pool fence.
Yeah.
And with the exclusion of a pool cover if you do need one during construction. Yeah. So the only thing you need to add on to that cost is usually the pool fencing. And we've given the rates roughly of the sort of pool fencing. So super easy. Have a look at your pool, measure how many meters, times that by 1,700. Yep. And same thing with your pool fencing. Depending on the pool fencing you have in mind, go back through that podcast and have a look at the rates.
That's it.
Times that by the amount of pool fencing and you will get roughly how much your pool is going to cost.
That's it. So, yeah, I think you've pretty much hit that on the head, short and sweet. All right, we might get out of here and we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Hopefully you've taken something away from that and you've actually learned something. Hey?
We hope so, because we wanted to do that pool one for quite a while.
That's true.
And we just weren't sure, I guess, I guess if it was going to be feasible, but when we thought about it, it's like there's a lot of information to know about pools. So
and a lot of people seem to want to know about it. Where you get a lot of inquiries and questions about them.
But you know what the issue? The pool is like a house. It's complicated. It might seem simple, it's just a pool, but there's so many things that you need to think about. From again, I was saying, you really think about is the height of your pool. Do you want it flush with the alfresco? Do you want to have a bit of a step down? You really need to think about that and think about obviously things from the pool coping to the size, the benches, the steps you want inside, the water line, the pool coping, and the pool fencing. And that's what we thought we'd do a podcast, because there's just so much to learn about and to know about. And we feel that people get screwed over a lot with pools. Yeah. And prime example, this is why we decided to do pools.
That's it.
We were just getting a little bit over pool builders and having to discuss with them, the heights and having to fix the errors. And we're like, this is it. We've had enough. We're just going to do pools. And
that's it. Why not?
That's it.
And and obviously it seems to be working well. Like obviously, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. This is why you don't do it on a Tuesday afternoon at fucking 5 o'clock. Yeah.
No, but it's true. If there's one last thing we can say is, I really do believe that pools are a great investment to your house.
They do.
I do believe that if you pay the right price, obviously for your pool, they will add value. And particularly when you get to the house, which starts to get you $500,000-$600,000 plus. Yeah. I really feel a pool is a must, and particularly when you got a resale and there's not much sort of access to the sides. Yeah. Usually during the build is the best time to get a pool done. So in terms of value, I think it not just adds value, it adds really look to the house. We were talking about this with landscaping and fencing.
How good does it look at the back? You've got a nice outdoor entertainment area. The pool's there as like a feature.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. You got really nice plants. Again, look at Newport.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine if the Newport display home didn't have that pool. Yeah. I think the backyard would be just bland.
For sure.
Well, we've got a pool, we got a nice courtyard, we got the alfresco, we got the plants all around. It just looks so good. It just looks so good. So I think well worth investing into one. Obviously, make sure you pick the right builder, whether it's a house builder or the pool builder, and make sure you have your list of all the things we ran through today, so that you know exactly what you're talking about.
That's it. Awesome. Well, we're gonna get over your hair. Get out of your hair for today. So you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next week with a brand new episode.
Sounds good.